The night my friend set me up on a joke date with a single mom, I realized something ugly about people I had known for years. They didn't think they were being cruel, that was the worst part. Cruel people are easier to understand when they know what they are. But my friends, they thought they were being funny, clever, a little edgy, the kind of adults who still believed humiliation was harmless as long as everyone laughed before dessert. My name is Connor Blake. I was 35, single, and apparently just lonely enough for my friends to decide my dating life had become public property. It started with a group dinner. At least that was what I was told. My friend Ryan texted me on a Thursday afternoon, Saturday, 7. Bell and Finch, no excuses. We're getting you out of your cave. I told him my cave had Wi-Fi, coffee, and no awkward strangers. He replied, exactly the problem. Ryan and I had been friends since college. Back then he was funny in the way broke 20-year-olds are funny, harmless, loud, mostly survivable. By 35, the loud part had stayed, but the harmless part had gotten inconsistent. His wife Paige organized everything. That should have warned me. Paige was the kind of person who said, I have an idea in the same tone other people say, I have evidence. She liked social experiments, matching people, and filming reactions for group chats nobody asked to be in. Still, I went. Bell and Finch was one of those modern restaurants with hanging lights, tiny plates, and chairs designed by someone who had clearly never sat through a long conversation. When I arrived, Ryan and Paige were already at a large table with two other couples, and one empty chair beside mine. That was the first sign. The second sign was Ryan's face. He had the face of a man trying not to look like he knew something. I stopped beside the table. What did you do? Nothing, he said too quickly. Paige smiled. We invited someone. Someone. A date, she said. I stared at her. You invited me to a surprise date with witnesses? Ryan lifted his glass. Think of it as emotional cardio. I'd rather be hit by a bicycle. One of the guys, Trevor, laughed a little too hard. That was the third sign. The fourth came when Paige leaned across the table and said, just be open-minded, okay? There are phrases that sound polite until you hear the trapdoor underneath them. Be open-minded was one. Before I could ask what that meant, the hostess led a woman toward our table. She was maybe 32 or 33, with warm brown skin, dark hair pulled back in a loose bun, and a navy wrap dress that looked simple, pretty, and practical in a way that made me immediately trust her taste more than anyone else's at the table. She carried a small purse, a denim jacket over one arm, and the tired composure of someone who had already done 3 things today that nobody in this restaurant would ever notice. The room did not go silent. Our table did. That small, ugly silence. The kind people create when they are waiting to see whether discomfort will become entertainment. Paige stood, smiling too brightly. Maya, hi, we're so glad you made it. Maya, she smiled politely. Hi. Then her eyes found me. I stood, not because I was trying to be charming, because everyone else staying seated made something in me want to correct the room. Connor, I said. Maya Reyes. Her hand was warm, her grip steady. There was a tiny dinosaur sticker stuck to the back of her phone case. I noticed it because Ryan noticed it too. His mouth twitched. That was when I understood. Not fully. Enough. We sat down. Maya took the empty chair beside me, and Paige immediately launched into the kind of introduction that sounds friendly if you ignore every hidden blade. Connor works in commercial construction management, Paige said. Very stable, very responsible, very allergic to dating apps. Maya smiled lightly. Reasonable allergy. And Maya, Paige continued, is a mom. There it was. Not works as a nurse, not runs a small catering business, which I later learned she did. Not as a person with interests, humor, a history, and a life. A mom. Dropped onto the table like a test. Maya's expression did not change much, but her fingers tightened once around her water glass. I saw it. I also saw Trevor glance at Ryan. Then Ryan gave me the smallest look. A look that said, well, like they had handed me something difficult and were waiting to see whether I'd squirm. I turned to Maya. How old? Her eyes sharpened slightly as if she was deciding whether the question was safe. My son? 6? What's his name? Leo. What's the dinosaur? That caught her off guard. She looked down at her phone case, then back at me. Triceratops. He's in a phase. Strong choice. Underrated dinosaur. For the first time, her smile reached her eyes. You have dinosaur opinions? I have several. Most are controversial. Ryan groaned. Oh no, don't encourage him. I ignored him. Maya tilted her head. What's your controversial dinosaur opinion? Velociraptors are overmarketed. She laughed, not politely, actually laughed. And that was the first moment the table lost control of the joke. For the next 10 minutes, I talked to Maya like she was exactly what she was. A woman sitting beside me at dinner. Not a warning label, not a charity assignment, not a punchline with a purse. She told me she ran a weekend meal prep service out of a rented commercial kitchen. She had started after leaving a restaurant job that kept scheduling her nights, even though they knew she had a child. She made lemon chicken people apparently fought over, hated cilantro, and had once spent 40 minutes negotiating with Leo about why pancakes could not legally count as dinner 4 nights in a row. They can, I said. They absolutely cannot. They have flour, eggs, milk. That's basically civilization. Maya looked at me with mock horror. You are dangerous. I've been called worse at job sites. Across the table, Paige's smile had started to look strained. Good. Then Trevor opened his mouth. There is always a Trevor. So, Connor, he said, leaning back in his chair, you ready to become a stepdad, or is this just dinner? The table froze. Maya looked down. Not dramatically, just enough. And I knew then that she had heard versions of that sentence before. Different words, same ugly shape. Ryan muttered, Dude. But he was smiling. That bothered me more. I set my napkin on the table, slowly. Then I turned to Trevor. No, I said. Maya went still beside me. Trevor's eyebrows lifted like he had just won. So I finished. I'm not ready to become anything, after knowing someone for 15 minutes. But I am ready to stop sitting at a table where grown adults invited a woman here just to see if I'd treat her life like baggage. The silence changed. This one had weight. Paige's face drained. Ryan looked at me like I had broken the rules of a game he never admitted we were playing. I stood and looked at Maya. Would you like to get coffee somewhere else? Her eyes lifted to mine. There was surprise there, but also caution. Smart caution. I don't need rescuing, she said quietly. I know, I said. I'm asking if you want better company. For 1 second, nobody breathed. Then Maya picked up her jacket, stood, and said, Yes, I do. And just like that, the joke left the table with us. We walked out of Bell and Finch without looking back. That sounds more dramatic than it felt. In reality, Maya paused at the host stand to thank the hostess. I held the door. She stepped into the cool Saturday night air, pulled her denim jacket around her shoulders, and let out a breath that seemed to have been waiting behind her ribs since the moment she entered the restaurant. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. The street was busy enough to make silence possible. Cars passed. People laughed outside a wine bar. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked like it had strong feelings about traffic. Maya looked at me and said, You really didn't know? No. She studied my face like she didn't fully trust the answer yet. I didn't blame her. I knew it was a setup, I said. I didn't know it was a setup like that. Her mouth tightened. Paige said you were shy. That was generous. She said you were a good guy. That part is under review. She said you were nervous about dating someone with a kid, but willing to be open-minded. There it was again. Open-minded. I felt my jaw tighten. I never said that. Maya nodded slowly, but the hurt was already there. Not fresh exactly. More like a bruise someone had pressed by accident and then smiled like nothing happened. I figured, she said. You figured what? That I was there to test your character. I looked back through the restaurant window. Our table was still visible near the back. Ryan had his hands up, probably explaining. Paige looked upset in the way people look when consequences arrive wearing the wrong outfit. Maya followed my gaze, then shook her head. Don't go back in. I wasn't. You looked like you were deciding whether to become a cautionary tale. I was deciding whether their chairs were bolted down. That got a real laugh out of her. Small, but real. Good. I would take it. There was a coffee shop 2 blocks away still open because college students and tired adults had similar caffeine emergencies. We walked there without making a plan. Inside, the place smelled like espresso, cinnamon, and burnt hope. Maya ordered tea. I ordered black coffee, she noticed. Black coffee at almost 9? I make poor choices with confidence. Apparently not all of them. I didn't answer that. The barista called our names, and we took a table near the window, far enough from everyone else to feel private but public enough to feel safe. I respected that choice. I also noticed she chose the chair facing the door. You do that too? I asked. What? Sit where you can see the entrance. Her eyebrows lifted. You noticed that? My job is mostly watching problems become expensive before other people admit they exist. That is bleak. It pays okay. She smiled into her tea. For a while we talked carefully. Surface things first. Work, neighborhoods, the absurd restaurant menu. How a 6-year-old could become emotionally attached to a plastic dinosaur missing one leg. Then Maya's phone buzzed. She checked it and rolled her eyes. Paige? I asked. Worse. Group chat. She turned the screen toward me. A message from Ryan. Okay, that escalated. Nobody meant anything bad. Connor, you made it weird. I stared at it. Then another message from Paige. Maya, I'm so sorry if that felt uncomfortable. We just thought you two might be good for each other. Maya pulled the phone back and set it face down. If that felt uncomfortable, she repeated, that is a criminal sentence. It's very popular with people who don't want to apologize all the way. I leaned back. Do you want me to respond? No. She said it quickly, then softer. No, I've had enough people speaking around me tonight. That landed. I nodded. Fair. She looked at me for a second and something in her expression changed. Not trust yet, something smaller. The first brick of it, maybe. I almost didn't come, she said. Why did you? She looked out the window. Because Leo was with his grandmother tonight and Paige made it sound normal. She said you were a little guarded, recently single and kind. She said it would just be dinner. Recently single? That part false? Not recently. 2 years. Then guarded? Unfortunately accurate. Kind. I hesitated. Maya smiled faintly. Under review? Exactly. She stirred her tea even though there was nothing in it to stir. My son's father left before Leo turned 2, she said. Not in one big dramatic scene, just slowly. Fewer calls, less money, more excuses. Then one day I realized I was spending more energy getting him to act like a father than I was raising my actual child. I stayed quiet. She didn't say it like she wanted pity. She said it like she was placing a fact on the table and seeing whether I would mishandle it. So now, she continued, dating is this strange interview where men either act like I'm asking them to sign adoption papers over appetizers, or they praise me for being strong, like they're complimenting a damaged bridge. That sounds exhausting. It is. She looked at me. But the worst ones are the men who think they're generous for considering me. That sentence deserved silence, so I gave it some. Then I said, for what it's worth, I don't think taking you to coffee after leaving a table of idiots counts as generosity. No? No, it counts as me improving my evening. She looked at me over the rim of her cup. This time, the smile stayed. Careful, Connor. With what? That almost sounded smooth. I apologize, it was unintentional. Good. Intentional smoothness is suspicious. We mahuai. Sat there until the tea cooled and my coffee became a bad idea. I kept drinking anyway. Then Maya's phone buzzed again. This time she glanced at it and her whole face changed. Not fear. Fatigue. What? I asked. She turned the screen. A text from Paige. Maya, please don't make this a thing. You know, dating is harder for you, and I was trying to help. I read it twice. The room seemed to narrow. Maya took the phone back before I could say anything. No, she said. I looked at her. She stared at the message, then slowly began typing. I watched her delete the first version, then the second. Then she locked the screen and set the phone down. I hate that I still want to explain why that hurts, she whispered. You don't have to explain it to me. Her eyes lifted. For the first time that night, she looked less guarded and more tired. Then she said, almost too quietly, would you walk me to my car? I stood immediately. Yeah, I said, I can do that. Outside, the air had gotten colder. We walked side by side back toward the parking lot behind the restaurant, not touching, not rushing. The night around us suddenly heavier than it had been before coffee. When we reached her car, she stopped but didn't unlock it. Instead, she looked at me and said, I need to ask you something, and I need the honest answer. Okay. If Leo had been here tonight, she said, voice steady but eyes bright, would you still have stood up? I looked at her, at the dinosaur sticker on her phone, at the woman who had walked into a cruel room with her dignity still intact and was asking the only question that actually mattered. Yes, I said, faster. And that was when Maya finally stopped trying not to cry. Maya didn't cry loudly. That somehow made it worse. She turned toward her car, one hand covering her mouth, shoulders tight as if she was trying to keep the sound inside her body out of habit. I did not touch her. That felt important. Not because I didn't want to comfort her, because I had known her for less than 2 hours and the last thing she needed was another man deciding what her pain required from him. So I stood beside her in the parking lot, close enough that she wasn't alone, far enough that she still had room to breathe. After a minute, she wiped her face with the heel of her hand and gave a small, embarrassed laugh. I'm sorry. No. I hate crying in parking lots. Most parking lots don't deserve the emotional complexity. That got a broken little smile from her. Then she looked at me. You said faster? I meant it. Because of Leo? Because if he had been there, he would have seen a room full of adults treating his mother like she was something to explain. My voice stayed quiet, but I meant every word. No kid should have to watch that and wonder if loving his mom makes her harder to love. Maya stared at me. Then she looked away again, but this time the tears came differently. Less shame, more release. My biggest fear, she whispered, is that one day he'll notice. Notice what? That people look at me and see him as a complication. I didn't answer fast. Fast answers are usually selfish in moments like that. They make the speaker feel useful and the other person feel handled. So I waited until I had something true. Then maybe he should also see people who don't. Her eyes came back to mine. That one landed. Before either of us could say more, her phone rang. She looked at the screen and softened instantly. Leo. I stepped back. I can give you space. No, it's okay, she answered, putting the phone to her ear. Hey, baby. Her whole voice changed. Not fake, not sugary, just warmer. I watched her become someone's safe place in real time, and something about that hit me harder than I expected. No, I'm not home yet, she said. I'm by my car. Grandma said what? A pause. Then she closed her eyes. Leo, toothpaste is not glue. I looked away so I wouldn't laugh. Maya saw me and tried not to smile. No, I am not mad. I am confused why the Triceratops needed dental work. Another pause. Okay, put Grandma on. She listened for a few seconds, then sighed. I'm sorry, Mom. I'll be there in 20. When she hung up, she looked at me with tired affection and said, the dinosaur lost a horn. Leo tried to reattach it with toothpaste. Structurally unsound. Apparently. Does he have tape? She blinked. What? Painter's tape is better for temporary dinosaur trauma, less residue. Still not permanent, but it buys time. Maya stared at me like I had just revealed a classified skill. You have opinions on dinosaur repair? I work construction, different materials, same emotional stakes. She laughed, this time fully. And in that laugh, the night shifted again. Not fixed, not light, but alive. Then her phone buzzed again, not a call. A message. Her smile disappeared before I even saw the screen. What now? She turned the phone toward me. It was the group chat again. A photo. Someone had taken it from inside the restaurant as Maya and I were leaving. My hand was on the door. Maya's head was turned slightly away. The image itself was harmless. The caption wasn't. Guess Connor passed the single mom test. For a second, I felt the kind of anger that makes the body go cold. Maya stared at the phone. Then she did something I didn't expect. She didn't cry. She didn't hand it to me. She opened the chat, typed one sentence, and sent it before hesitation could soften it. I am not a test. I am a woman. Don't contact me again tonight. Then she muted the chat. I looked at her. She was breathing fast, but her chin was steady. That was good, I said. No, she said. That was overdue. I nodded once. Even better. She looked down at the phone again. I should go. Leo's probably trying to perform surgery with a spoon by now. High-risk operation? Very. For a second, neither of us moved. It would have been easy to end there. A strange night? A bad table? Is a good coffee? Two people who met under humiliating circumstances and then returned to their separate lives with one story they would probably think about too often. But Maya looked at me like she was weighing something. Then she said, I run meal prep tomorrow morning. I waited. Commercial kitchen on Ashland, 6 to 10. It's loud, unglamorous, and I'll smell like garlic for most of the day. That sounds like a warning. It is? Her mouth curved slightly. It's also where I'm most myself. I understood what she was offering. Not romance, not yet. A second chance to meet her somewhere nobody had arranged as a joke. I can come by, I said. You don't have to. I know. I'm serious. If tonight was just you being decent in a bad situation, let it stay that. You don't owe me follow-through. That was the line, the real one. Because Maya had probably met men who liked the feeling of defending someone more than the responsibility of knowing them afterward. I stepped back a little, giving the answer room. I don't want to come because I owe you, I said. I want to come because you laughed at my dinosaur opinion, run a business, made one of the cleanest group chat exits I've ever seen, and I still don't know whether your lemon chicken is as good as you implied. Her smile grew despite herself. It is. Then I'll need evidence. She unlocked her car. Before getting in, she looked at me one more time. No longer quite as guarded, not open either. But something had shifted. If you come, she said, don't bring flowers. I wasn't planning on it. Good, bring coffee. What kind? She tilted her head. You remembered everything else tonight. Figure it out. Then she got in her car and drove away. I stood in the parking lot until her taillights turned the corner. Then my phone buzzed. Ryan. Dude. Paige is crying. You embarrassed everyone. I looked at the message for a long moment. Then I typed back, no, you did. And for the first time all night, I felt like the real date hadn't ended. It had finally been allowed to begin. I showed up at the commercial kitchen at 6:12 the next morning with 2 coffees, 1 roll of painter's tape, and the strange feeling that I was about to be judged by a 6-year-old I had never met. Maya opened the back door wearing jeans, a black t-shirt, an apron dusted with flour, and her hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked at the coffees first, then the tape, then me. You brought tape. Temporary dinosaur trauma requires planning. Her mouth twitched. And the coffee? Medium oat latte, 1 pump vanilla. I guessed based on your tea order the fact that you hate cilantro and your general suspicion of unnecessary bitterness. She stared at me for 1 second too long. Then she stepped aside. That was either impressive or concerning. I accept both. The kitchen was nothing like the restaurant from the night before. No low lighting, no carefully plated judgment, no people waiting to see what I would do, just stainless steel counters, stacked containers, trays of roasted vegetables, rows of labeled sauces, and the smell of garlic, lemon, and warm bread. A whiteboard listed orders for the weekend, most of them family meals and Mother's Day brunch boxes. Maya moved through that kitchen differently than she had moved through the restaurant. At Bell and Finch, she had been braced, Here she was in command. Not loud, not frantic. Just focused, fast, precise. She checked temperatures, corrected a label, tasted a sauce, adjusted it, and gave instructions to a college kid chopping onions with the grim determination of a man regretting every choice that led him there. "This is your empire?" I asked. "This is my least 4-hour window between a bakery and a woman who makes gluten-free dog biscuits." Competitive ecosystem. Brutal. She handed me a hairnet. I looked at it. "This will damage my image." "What image?" "Fair." For the next 2 hours, I labeled containers, sealed lids, packed bags, and learned that lemon chicken actually could justify arrogance. Maya kept me busy but never helpless, which I appreciated. She didn't turn my presence into a performance. She simply gave me a task and expected me to do it correctly. That told me more about her than any date could have. At 8:30, the back door opened. A woman in her 60s came in holding the hand of a little boy with serious eyes, a dinosaur backpack, and a triceratops missing one horn. Maya's face changed instantly. "Leo!" He ran to her and she crouched to catch him. Not in a movie way, in a mother way. One arm around his back, one hand automatically checking his jacket zipper, his hair, the backpack strap sliding off his shoulder. 100 tiny movements of care so practiced they looked like breathing. The older woman smiled at me. "You must be Connor." I stood straighter. "Yes, ma'am." "Maya's mother, Elena." Leo looked at me with open suspicion. "Are you the construction guy?" "I manage construction projects." "Slightly less exciting?" "My dinosaur broke." "I heard." He lifted the triceratops. "Grandma said toothpaste is not glue." "Grandma is correct." Maya watched us quietly. I took the painter's tape from my pocket and crouched, leaving space between us. "May I?" Leo studied me like a building inspector. Then he handed me the dinosaur. I taped the broken horn carefully enough to matter and badly enough to remain temporary. "There," I said. "Not permanent, but stable." Leo turned it over in his hands. Then he looked at me and said, "Mom says stable is good." I glanced at Maya. Her eyes were softer than I expected. "Your mom is right," I said. Leo nodded, then ran toward the corner table where Elena had already opened a coloring book. Crisis resolved, at least structurally. Maya turned away too quickly and busied herself with an order label. I moved beside her. "You okay?" "I'm fine." That sounded like the professional version. She pressed a lid onto a container. "He likes you." That was mostly tape. "No." She looked over at Leo, then back at me. "He doesn't hand broken things to people quickly." That sentence did something quiet to the room. Before I could answer, her phone buzzed on the counter. She checked it and exhaled through her nose. "Page." Maya didn't show me the screen this time. She read it silently, then set the phone down. "Bad?" I asked. "Apology. Realer than last night, maybe." Still full of words, trying to make her feel less guilty. "Do you want to answer?" "Not right now." "Then don't." She gave me a tired smile. "You make boundaries sound simple." "They aren't. But sometimes the sentence is." That stayed with her, I could tell. At 10, the orders were packed, the counters were cleaned, and Maya looked like a woman who had already lived an entire day before most people had finished brunch. Elena took Leo to the car, but he came running back once. He stopped in front of me. "Are you coming to the park?" Maya froze. Elena looked at her daughter with an expression that said she would absolutely pretend not to be listening. I looked at Maya, not Leo. That mattered. "This is up to your mom," I said. Leo turned to her. "Can he?" Maya held my eyes for a moment. I could see the calculation there. Not because she didn't want me there. Because every single mother knows the cost of letting someone into the child part of her life before they've earned more than one good night. "I think," she said carefully, "Connor has plans." "I can change them," I said. Her eyes narrowed slightly, not warning, testing. "Can you?" "Yes." "Why?" I could have said because Leo asked. I could have said because I liked her. Both true, neither complete. "Because I want to know you on a normal morning," I said. Not just in a bad room. Maya looked at me for a long second. Then she nodded once. The park, she said. 1 hour, no promises beyond that. 1 hour is plenty. It is not a date. Understood. Leo pumped one fist like he had negotiated a treaty. At the park, I pushed a swing, answered 6 dinosaur questions, and watched Maya relax by degrees she probably didn't even notice. She laughed when Leo made me be the volcano in a very complex dinosaur migration game. She took one photo, then immediately looked embarrassed that she had. At the end of the hour, Leo ran ahead to Elena's car. Maya stood beside me near the path, arms folded loosely, sunlight catching the flower still on one sleeve of her shirt. You were good with him, she said. He's easy to like. That's not the same thing. No, I said, it isn't. Her expression shifted. The guarded part of her was still there. I respected it more each time I saw it. I don't introduce men to my son, she said. I figured. I didn't plan this. I know. And I don't want you thinking a good morning at a park means you understand my life. I don't. She looked almost annoyed by how quickly I agreed. So, what do you want, Connor? There it was again. A direct question. No audience this time, no group chat, no bad table, no one waiting to turn her answer into a joke. Just Maya asking whether I was the kind of man who liked the idea of her or the reality. I want a real first date, I said. One you choose, no setup, no witnesses, no one deciding what either of us is supposed to prove. Her mouth softened. And if I say no, then I'll still know Leo's dinosaur is structurally questionable. That got a laugh out of her. Then she looked toward her mother's car where Leo was waving the Triceratops against the window. When she looked back, her eyes were bright but steady. Friday, she said. Dinner. Somewhere with normal chairs. Normal chairs. Got it. And Connor? Yeah. If this becomes real, it becomes real slowly. I nodded. Slowly is good. She studied me for one last second, then smiled. Not the polite smile from the restaurant. Not the tired one from the parking lot. This one was smaller, warmer. Dangerous in a completely different way. Good, she said. Then don't make me regret believing you. Part 5. Friday came with rain. Not dramatic rain, not movie rain. Just the kind that made restaurant windows glow and sidewalks look cleaner than they were. Maya chose the place, a small family-owned Italian restaurant with normal chairs, warm bread, and no one from my social circle within legal distance. She arrived 5 minutes late wearing a black dress under a denim jacket, hair loose, eyes cautious. I stood when she reached the table. She looked at me. You don't have to do that every time. I know. Then why do you? Because I want to. She studied me like she was still trying to decide whether consistency was a trick. Then she sat down. The date was not perfect. That was why it mattered. There were pauses, careful ones. Maya checked her phone twice because Leo had a cough. I asked too many construction-related questions about the restaurant ceiling because nervousness makes me professionally unbearable. She told me I had inspection eyes, which was not a compliment. Halfway through dinner, she said, I need to be honest. I set my fork down. She looked at me directly. I like you. That sounded painful. It was. Her mouth curved, then faded. But I have a son, I have a business. I have a life that already requires a lot from me. I don't have room for a man who wants to feel noble for 3 weeks and then disappears when real life gets boring. I understand. No, she said gently. You might understand the sentence. You don't understand the calendar. That was fair. So she told me. School drop-offs, kitchen rentals, sick days, clients canceling, birthday parties, budgeting. The guilt of working late, the guilt of not working enough. The way dating meant paying not only with hope, but sometimes with babysitting, time, and explaining to a child why someone stopped coming around. When she finished, she looked tired. I said, Then don't make room for me. Her face changed. I continued before she misunderstood. Not yet. Don't rearrange anything. Let me show up where there's already space, and if I earn more, we'll talk about it. Maya blinked. Then she smiled a little. That was a good answer. I was aiming for useful. Useful is underrated. So we went slowly. Exactly like she said. A second date without Leo, then a third, then coffee after one of her Saturday kitchen shifts. Then one afternoon at the park where Leo asked if I knew how to build a bridge for toy dinosaurs, and I took the question more seriously than most client proposals. Maya watched me with him. Not dreamily, carefully. That mattered too. Trust did not arrive like fireworks. It arrived like repeated evidence. The group chat died within a week. Ryan apologized badly first, then better after I stopped answering his jokes. Paige wrote Maya a long message. Maya read it, waited 2 days, and replied with 3 sentences. She accepted the apology, she was not available for their guilt, and she would decide later whether she wanted contact. I respected that more than a dramatic cutoff. Boundaries are not always doors slamming. Sometimes they are locks being installed quietly. Mother's Day came a month later. Maya had 27 brunch boxes to deliver, a school craft Leo had hidden so badly she found glitter in the freezer, and a migraine she pretended was just pressure. I showed up at 6 in the morning with coffee, breakfast tacos, and no flowers because she had once said flowers felt like a chore that died visibly. Instead, I brought a small toolbox and fixed the loose shelf in her kitchen while she packed orders. Leo made me a paper badge that said Dino Helper. Maya looked at it, then at me. You know this is not glamorous, right? I looked around. Food containers, coffee, a 6-year-old coloring at a prep table, a woman holding an entire life together with labels, timers, and stubborn love. No, I said, it's better. That was the first time she kissed me. Not in front of Leo, not as a reward. Outside the kitchen, in the back hallway, after the orders were loaded, and her hands smelled like lemon and garlic. She stepped close, looked at me like she was still deciding whether to be brave, and said, "Slowly doesn't mean never." Then she kissed me softly enough to feel careful and deeply enough to make careful feel worth it. A year later, Leo introduced me to his teacher as Mom's Connor. Not boyfriend, not stepdad, not construction guy. Mom's Connor. Maya heard it and cried in the car, then threatened to deny it if I ever told anyone. 2 years later, we moved into a small house with a backyard just big enough for Leo to build a dinosaur excavation site and for Maya to grow herbs she kept forgetting to water. 3 years later, I proposed at the kitchen table after a Mother's Day dinner. Leo helped cook badly and proudly. I didn't ask to become Leo's father. That was not mine to claim. I asked Maya if I could keep choosing the life we had built. The busy mornings, the hard calendars, the lemon chicken, the toy dinosaurs, the woman who had walked out of a cruel restaurant and still found room to trust me. She said yes. Then Leo asked if that meant I could officially fix things without being asked. Maya said, "Absolutely not." That was how I knew we were a family. Years later, when people asked how we met, Maya would say, "His friends made a bad decision." And I'd say, "Best bad decision they ever made." But the truth was simpler. They tried to make her a joke. She became my home. What would you have done if your friend set you up on a joke date with a single mom and everyone expected you to treat her like baggage? And if you're watching this near Mother's Day, take a second to celebrate the mothers in your life. Mothers carry more than most people see, and single mothers carry strength, tenderness, exhaustion, sacrifice, and love all at once. If you're a man watching this, call your mother, hug her if you can, thank her properly, and don't wait for a holiday to respect what she has done. Share your mother's story or the story of a single mom you admire in the comments. If this story meant something to you, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.